Hey, this is Jamey with Stillmeyer Games, and today I'm here with Walter to talk about our favorite mechanisms in the Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig expansion, Secrets and Soirees, in which there actually are a few cats. I think Walter appears in this game for a brief moment. So this is obviously a Stillmeyer Games product. I run Stillmeyer Games, but this isn't a review. This is the things that I like mechanically that might give you some ideas as designers. There are three things I want to briefly mention here. First, let's start out with the activity rooms in the game. So activity rooms are one of the new types of room tiles found in Secrets and Soirees. And I'll put Walter down for the rest of this video. So here's an example of an activity room. I don't know if the camera is going to focus on it. But the idea behind the activity rooms is that you get 1 point per tile that is orthogonally adjacent to it. You can kind of see it there. Doesn't matter what the tile type is. You just want to surround the activity rooms with other rooms. However, if there is a specific type of room around this room, so in this case, if there is a yellow room, an eating room, a dining room, anywhere around it, and the 8 tiles that could surround this tile, you only get 1 point total for this tile. So there's a little bit of puzzle there. You want tiles around it, but you don't want a specific tile around it because thematically, people don't want to be eating right next to a sweaty climbing room is the theme here. A lot of these are also rooms that are very loud, so you don't want a really loud room next to a bedroom, say. So I really like that mechanism. Just very simple, but it's kind of satisfying to have this completion sense when you get all 4 tiles around this room, and then you have the added puzzle after that of not putting, in this case, a yellow room anywhere else in the surrounding spaces. Those are activity rooms. The room that's actually no, I'll end with my favorite. When you have 3 activity rooms, the specialty room tied to activity rooms, because there are completion bonuses. It's kind of like completion bonuses in this game in Between Two Castles, where if you have any 3 activity rooms anywhere in your castle, you get a bonus for having 3 of them. And in this case, the activity room is a ballroom, and each of the ballrooms is a little different. So each ballroom has a generic back to it, and then you'll kind of shuffle those up at the beginning of the game, and you'll draw, I believe it's draw 3. You'll draw 3 of these, and you'll pick 1 to put in your castle. And what these say, this is really, really cool. The ballrooms, thematically, like in this expansion, you are hosting a ball, and you're inviting people from nearby castles, so adjacent castles. And so the ballrooms in particular want you to look at rooms not in this castle where you're placing the ballroom, but in each adjacent castle. And in Between Two Castles, you are literally sitting between 2 castles that you have partial control over. And so that means that one of these castles is a castle that you have partial control over. The other one on the other side of this castle is something that you have no control over at all. But the player that you're building this castle with does. So there is a little bit of influence there over these adjacent castles. But I love the idea that this tile is making you look at the adjacent castles, and because you're drawing 3 and picking 1, you look at those 3 and you're kind of looking at those nearby castles to see which of those castles has the particular room type that this specific tile wants. Each tile wants a different room type in those adjacent castles. Really, really like that. My favorite room, though, and here's another ballroom. All the ballrooms are a little bit different. My favorite new tile type, my favorite mechanism in this game, thematically and mechanically, are the secret rooms. So the secret rooms here is opposite the fireplace. I'm sorry it's not completely focused in so you can see the art here, but each of the secret rooms artistically has like a little hole in the wall or the ground or the ceiling that you can kind of sneak through to get to the adjacent room. Whether or not there's an adjacent room when you actually place this tile or later you place an adjacent room there. And all of the arrows on these tiles point in an orthogonal direction. So in opposite the fireplace, they all point to the right. And that means that this tile, in 3 different ways, copies the tile to the right. It copies the type of tile, it copies the wall hanging on that tile, and it copies the scoring ability on that tile. It essentially becomes that tile. And it becomes that tile not just for all of those things, but also for scoring purposes. And for set completion purposes. I mentioned earlier that if you have 3 activity rooms, you get to place a ballroom in your castle. So if I have 3 different secret rooms pointing at activity rooms, or if I say I have a climbing room here, and I have one secret room pointing at the climbing room, and then elsewhere in the castle I have another climbing room. In effect, I have 3 activity rooms at that point. Three total. I said climbing room there. It's 3 total activity rooms. This becomes an activity room because it's pointing directly at an adjacent activity room. And because you have 3 of them, then you get a ballroom. You have completed that 3-set goal that you have for rooms. So I really like this idea that they aren't a room type on their own. They mimic these other room types, but they look cool in the castle. I love the theme of having a room that's basically there just to kind of sneak through and be a part of the room adjacent to it. And I like that they just point in different directions. So that's the difference between these different tiles. They point in one of 4 different directions. And so that is my favorite room type in the castle, thematically and mechanically, the secret rooms. Those are the main new things in this expansion. And also for secret rooms, I should mention that there are little room type tiles to help you remember what type of room it is. So there are little tokens that you put up there to remind you that this is the type of room it is. It makes it a little bit easier to count them. The other big thing about this expansion is that it does have a solo mode, a very robust Automa solo mode, which wasn't in the original core game of Between Two Castles. So if you've been waiting to play Between Two Castles solo, there's now a robust Automa solo mode in the game. Those are my favorite mechanisms in the Between Two Castles expansion, Secrets and Soirees, and I greatly look forward to hearing your thoughts when you get your hands on the expansion. We'll have it available, if you're watching this right now, we'll have it available in the very near future, tomorrow in fact, for pre-order. And if you're watching this in the future, you can order it from the Stonemaier Games website or from your local retailer. Thanks!